Hello, listeners, and welcome to Youth Ventures Podcast, PDX Business Spotlight. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this episode of PDX Business Spotlight. Today, we are so delighted to welcome Molly Lee, who's the founder and owner of Optimistic Soap. So, Molly, could you please go ahead and give an overview of who you are, what your business is about, and how you got started?
Hi. Thank you for having me. I am, like you said, Molly Lee, and I do sell soap under the name Optimistic Soap. Really a side hustle for me. I have a regular 9-to-5 job that actually pays the bills. The Optimistic Soap is just something that I started because I had a hobby that I loved and adored, and I had so much fun making soap. But after a time, I ended up with a lot of soap. And also, it's somewhat an expensive hobby. So I started selling soap to friends and family just to offset the costs. And I did it quite casually for a number of years, maybe 4 or 5 years. And I had a website only because I wanted to have a website. That's actually one of the things I do professionally. And I'm also a graphic designer, so I love doing the labels and, playing around with social media and things. So it's always just been a fun little side thing for me just to see how this might work. And it's so much fun when someone actually reaches out and purchases soap from me and gives me positive feedback. So it's just a fun thing for me. I think maybe only in the past year or so is when I've started to get a little bit more serious about it. Mm-hmm. It's still not something that I see as replacing my regular job, but it is something that could become a more serious side hustle, and then maybe something that could be a bigger thing when I eventually retire.
Molly, first of all, I do love how you really did follow your passions and how you incorporated all of your likes into this business. For example, how you obviously loved making soap. That was obviously the reason why you started this business. But you also incorporated like tiny elements like your experience as being a graphic designer and your like all of your hobbies of like designing websites and designing the labels and all of that into this beautiful business.
Yeah, I mean, I actually talk to people about that this creative endeavor hits me on so many fronts. Like you said, the creative labels and the graphic design, and also the way things smell and how they look. Yeah, just trying to find creative ways to make it different and special. I actually came across this graphic that really speaks to me. It's a Japanese word. It's pronounced, I had to look this up before this podcast. It's pronounced Ikigai. It's Ikigai. It's a concept meaning a reason for being. And if you look it up, you can look it up on Google, and a beautiful little diagram of 4 intersecting circles will come up. So it's like a Venn diagram with 4 circles. And each circle is what you love, what you're good at, what you can be paid for, and what the world needs. And indeed, Optimistic Soap and this little endeavor that I have hits me on all 4 of those, and it's the intersection in the middle, and it's kind of a reason for being. And it really is truly something I love a lot.
Wow, I can definitely tell that this is like a business that you definitely do love a lot, and this is a passion that definitely does hit all 4 of those things.
For sure.
And Molly, you might have touched on this a little bit, but who or what inspired you to start your business?
It really was truly born out of the necessity of helping to pay for my hobby. And also, I mean, seriously, the soap was really starting to pile up in my house. So half the reason why I sell soap is so I can move it out so I can make more soap.
Well, that is definitely an amazing inspiration to start selling your own soap and start a new endeavor of your own. And Molly, how has being a person of color affected your business, either positively or negatively?
I can't think of a way that it has affected my business negatively, and really not that in much a way at all. but I will say that the business has encouraged me to be more authentic. I've learned that being my own real true self really resonates with people on social media. I mean, I hate to make it sound like it's a marketing ploy or anything, but I've learned that on my Instagram, that just posting, these glossy kind of lifestyle pictures of my pretty soap and describing what it smells like, those are nice. But the things that people comment and that I really get engagement on are when I post something that resonates with people, that is honest and true
Mhm.
about something that I really care about, that maybe is not what a soap maker would typically post. I have an activist side, and so I am a little political, and I kept that apart from my soap making persona for a long time. But then I realized that people actually like that, and my customers like that. And so
Mhm.
I kind of embraced that. And now I have a couple of bars of soap that I would have been found too controversial to post before. I have smashed patriarchy and billionaire tears. I mean, honestly, like 3 or 4 years ago, I wasn't even posting my Pride soap because I thought, well, I mean, it seems ridiculous now, but I thought, I need to just have it be completely non controversial.
Mhm.
Why that would be controversial? I mean, I don't even want to sell soap to someone who thinks that that is inappropriate. So just being your own real authentic self, I think helps. And my being a person of color is part of who I am.
Wow. Well, first of all, Molly, I am super glad that there were no negative effects of being a BIPOC owned business. But I do also appreciate how this business and this endeavor truly did help you find your authentic self, and it truly did help you discover yourself, I guess, and
Yeah,
allow
yeah.
your business to expand with it as well. Molly, as you may know, the pandemic definitely did impact everyone in pretty negative ways, but it definitely did impact businesses a lot. How has the pandemic affected your business? Has it had more upsides or downsides?
I think actually it hasn't affected me negatively. If there is a positive effect, I would say that I've been working from home for the last 2 years, and just being here on my home turf. I mean, I do put in my honest good day's work, but it's just so much easier being at home. And honestly, sometimes if I'm having a stressful meeting or something like that, I'll just go down into my basement and smell my soap and feel so much better. I enjoy being at home with my little side business. So that has had a positive effect for me. And other than that, not that much, really. I just sell mostly online. Oh, I guess I haven't been to a lot of events,
Mhm.
and so that's a negative effect. And the stores that I sell to, obviously, they've been hit with the pandemic, but
Mhm.
overall, it hasn't really affected me that poorly.
I'm glad to hear that it did not affect your business as much on the negative side. And I'm also glad to hear that it allowed you to expand your business a little more and it allowed it to flourish into a different sector as well and become more available online.
Yes.
And Molly, this might be a bit of a difficult question, but what is your favorite soap that you sell?
Oh my goodness. That is a difficult question. A lot of times it might be something that I have made recently. I really love the fragrance of black raspberry vanilla right now. I have a collection that I call my Portlandia collection. It's a series of 8 soaps that all have a local Portland or Oregon theme. So I have Oregon Coast, Multnomah Gorge, Forest
Wow.
Park, Portland Sunshine, Portland Rain, and that collection, and you can buy each of those individually, but that collection just makes me very happy to have this whole set. And it's also available in this, I call it a soap flight, my Portlandia soap flight. So I make 8
Mhm.
little miniature bars of each of those, and it comes in a cute little box with the label. And I just worked very hard on the packaging and that whole package makes me very happy.
Wow, that sounds like a brilliant idea. And to all the listeners out there, if you do want to check out the other soap that Molly was talking about, or if you want to check out all of the Portlandia collection, you can definitely go to the link in our podcast description box below, which will have Molly's website, and you can click that link and buy your own soap right away.
Thank you so much.
And Molly, I was also looking at the unique elements that you use to create your soap. And another question I had was, how do you formulate your products? Or like what type of ingredients do you use to formulate your soaps?
Sometimes I will be inspired by a particular fragrance,
Mhm.
or sometimes I'm inspired by an event or an idea. So,
Mhm.
for instance, recently, Ukraine is, of course, on everyone's minds.
Mhm.
And the Ukrainian flag, with its simple blue and yellow, is just perfect for a soap. So I had the idea to make the Ukrainian flag soap first, and then I went through my fragrances and colors to choose something that I felt would fit that theme.
Wow.
And then there are other times when I'll find a fragrance that I really like and then work backwards from there and pick out
Mhm.
colors and a name that works with that.
Wow, that is definitely such a unique way to create your products and to like come up with new ideas as well.
Well, and actually, let me mention that the Ukrainian flag, I formulated that on the day that there was the awful report that Russia had hit a maternity ward, a
Mhm.
maternity hospital, and those images were so affecting and so horrific that I had to do something. So I made my soap, and then I later offered it up for sale and donated 100% of all the profits or all the sales to direct relief, which provides medical supplies and medical equipment to countries that need it. And you can designate that if you want it to go directly to Ukraine or any place else. And so that felt like a really good way to do something. It's hard to have
Mhm.
difficult times and to feel helpless because, no one can do anything about this war.
Mhm.
No human being can do a lot, but each individual person can do a little bit. And so I have this ability to make a soap that people would like, and people bought that soap. And so I, was able to make a donation that got sent directly to them. I realized afterwards that I can't send 100% of all my sales to any organization like that. I mean, that was just a spur of the moment, like, oh, I've got to do something. And that was that entire batch of soap. And it made me very happy to send that money.
Mhm.
I've made some subsequent batches of the same Ukraine soap. And now I'm going to donate half of the sales just so that I can pay for the costs and things and continue to do it. And I figure I'll make up for it in volume and I'll still be able to make pretty hefty donations. So that makes me happy.
Wow, first of all, I understand like how helpless like everyone was feeling during that time, especially like watching all these horrific stories on the news. And I feel like you completely did like deal with it the right way, like by really creating like something that you truly cared about, and by sharing that gift to everyone else, you kind of allowed like all of your customers and everyone the opportunity to help everyone in Ukraine. You gave them an outlet to buy soap from you, and by buying soap from you, you gave them the opportunity to help donate and help for relief in all the people that are suffering due to the consequences.
Yeah. I mean, and like I said, it's a little thing, but
Mhm.
every little thing does add up. Made me happy to do it.
Definitely. I was looking at your website and I saw that there are like a lot of missions and a lot of donations that you have like made in the past. So, an additional question I had was, what are like some of your missions that your business like currently supports? Or like what are some missions that our listeners can support by buying your soap right now?
I'm probably not very strategic about what I do. I mean, like I said, the Ukraine thing was like spur of the moment. Oh, I've got to do something. And I have supported things like the Trevor Project.
Mhm.
Last year, I made a substantial donation to honor Pride Month. And that's a fantastic organization that helps LGBTQ youth. Let's see, last year I also funded Texas Choice. I forgot the name of the organization. It's on my site. So I think it's called Fun Texas Choice. And that happened again, a spur of the moment thing when Texas's law, which would virtually ban abortions in the entire state, came about. And this organization is a nonprofit that just helps women who need health care, helps them with travel expenses so they can travel out of state to get an abortion if they need it. So that just seemed really relevant. And that was also part of my, I'm just going to embrace that I do have a progressive side and I do believe that abortion is health care. So I'm donating. And that was another thing that resonated. I had a fundraiser where I think I donated half of all my September or October sales to this organization, and people liked doing that. Again, it wasn't a great strategic move because I don't think it helped my bottom line, but it was something I really wanted to do. And, it didn't hurt. But like I said, this business is a side hustle. So I don't need it to pay my bills. I need to at least break even. And it's nice if I make a little bit of a profit. So again, it's just a nice thing to do. The prior year was an election year. And
Uh-huh.
so I sent a bunch of money to Fair Fight and other pro-democracy organizations.
Molly, I do think that, first of all of your missions that you have done are like so unique and truly so helpful to the community and to all the listeners out there. If you want to support Molly in this endeavor, please do consider buying from her. And if you support her, follow her along on her social medias. You can also find out when she's doing donations such as these. So you can keep up with that and help support Molly as well. Also, Molly, what advice might you have for young entrepreneurs, especially young entrepreneurs of color, and what are some experiences you could talk about that might motivate or inspire them?
I like that we live in a much different time now than what I grew up in. When
Mhm.
I was very young, my parents were from China, and so we were a very Chinese family. But back then, the whole move was assimilate and be as American and let
Mhm.
not very Chinese as much as possible.
Mhm.
And that was just something that blending in was so important. And if you weren't anything other than a blonde, blue eyed cheerleader type, that was,
Mhm.
social stigma. But nowadays, I'm so grateful to see my kids in schools where they talk about honoring diversity and they embrace the differences. And it is not shameful to be a person of color or anything like that,
Mhm.
or, a queer person or anything. And it's such a beautiful thing to be able to be your real, true, authentic self. So my advice, I guess, to the young me would have been just embrace yourself. I think it's less important to people nowadays, but I still think that it is important to just be your own honest human being. And, if you're selling things, you'll find your market. Just be yourself.
Thank you, Molly. I think that is definitely such a key piece of advice for all of the young entrepreneurs out there. So, thank you so much for that.
Sure.
And, Molly, how can people support your business?
Obviously they can buy soap and that's fine, but I am thankfully in a position where, if you don't want to buy my soap, that's totally okay too. I'm not a super needy entrepreneur. If people would follow me on Instagram, Optimistic Soap is my handle. That would be awesome. I love it when people comment. I love it when people reach out and give me feedback. Send me an email, fill out the form on my website. I just love hearing from people.
Definitely. So, all of the listeners out there, please do go to the links in our podcast description box. We will have Molly's website where you can directly buy from her and buy all of her soaps and look through all of that. We will have her Instagram and all of her other social media, so you can go check that out and follow Molly's journey and comment, like, subscribe, everything to support her.
Thank you so much.
Also, Molly, are there any special projects or anything else you would like to plug?
I can't think of anything in particular. Like I said, I am not terribly strategic, so something might happen and then I'll work on that. But otherwise, there is nothing that I'm cooking up at present. I'll be vending in person at My People's Market. I think it's June 4th.
Mhm.
It's on a Saturday. My People's Market is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I'll be there on the Saturday, which I think is June 4th. I love seeing people in person.
Definitely. So to all the listeners, once again, we will be putting in some more information about the upcoming My People's Markets, and we will also include the date that Molly will be vending. So if you want to see her, meet her, talk to her, or buy from her in person, you can definitely go do that as well. Thank you so much, Molly. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. It was truly an honor to talk to you and to spotlight your business. Are there any final words that you wanted to say at all?
No, I can't think of anything. This was really a delight. I wasn't sure about doing this, but you made it very easy. So I really appreciate that.
No problem. Thank you so much, Molly. And listeners, that is it from PDX Business Spotlight. And please be sure to join us in the next episode. Thank you for listening to PDX Business Spotlight by Youth Venture, and we hope to see you in the next episode.